I'm your host, Ben Gunna Dunna, Benny Buckets. We in the house. How's it going? How we doing? How we feeling? How we living? I am joined by the number one co-host in the fantasy realm, my man, Zack Attack Bernie. Tell the people what it is, Zack.
What up? What up? My party peeps. Not much of a party this week, to be honest, right, Benny? I mean,
Nope.
it was a tough week, definitely in some leagues. I know it was, make it or break it in a lot of them, and a lot of them it broke, It's definitely been a weird year fantasy-wise. As we were just talking about, if you had like the first or second pick, in your draft, you probably aren't making the playoffs because McCaffrey, well, maybe Dalvin Cook saved you this past week, but and besides that, he wasn't doing much this season. So just a tough year. But, we're still going to give you those rankings, even though I know, Benny, I think we're changing up the saying, right? Not fantasy, hashtag fantasy is life, right? What is it this week?
Fantasy is death.
Hashtag fantasy is death, people. That's what we've been dealing with these past couple of days. We had some heartbreakers. So
and to start stacking the studs, this guy is probably the closest to death than any other player in age-wise, old age, and that is the GOAT you hear to hear, first and second and third and about 99 times, Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Saints. He is looking like the front or second runner for MVP, competing with Ron Rodgers. It's, what do you call it? What is this game going to be for Tom Brady?
It's going to be a revenge game. Huge revenge game. I'm pumped to see it. Also, I would take a look at, we're going to be getting into the, the waiver wire here a little bit, but you like how he got Rashad Penny involved there late in the game? He got that touchdown to him. Like, hey, Penny saved some leagues here a couple of years ago. So you never know.
Oh, years ago, yes.
A couple of years ago he did. You never know. Could be on the horizon again, peeps.
Speaking of people on the horizon, this guy's toe is not. It's laid up in bed, and hopefully he will be activated for this week. I don't see why not. He's a tough, big dude, and that's Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. We've got a question from Marcos Valdez. Welcome, buddy. Welcome to Stackin the Studs. Have PPR, Cordell Patterson, or T. Higgins? Also, Rodgers or Herbert? Wow.
I'd say half PPR, I'm leaning towards Higgins, I think.
Really?
If it was full PPR, I would probably go Patterson. But with Higgins, he's had over 100 yards each of the last 3 games, right? Like it does. He's not really about like that volume. He just does a lot with his targets, more or less. Cordell Patterson, he's you're banking on that target volume with him. So I in that one would go Higgins, and then
Cordell has been the leading rusher though. So he has that.
Yeah, but how many yards is he? Like, he hasn't been getting that many rushing yards. He hasn't broken.
Not last week, but he had a really good week the week before, and it was really all on the ground. I'm going to pull him up real quick. So in the past 3 weeks, Cordell had 13, 12 the week before, and then 27, and that came on 16 attempts on the ground for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so that's, sprinkle in a catch here or two, but he is the lead back. And I mean, that's a tough choice. I mean, it depends on who else.
Higgins is playing, and they are playing the Broncos as well. That's a tough matchup for T. Higgins.
They're like the Bears of last year. You don't want to play fantasy.
That's a tough question. I personally would lean T. Higgins. He's been cooking more the past 3 weeks.
And then the second half of it, Rodgers or Herbert?
I know that's another. I mean, we are stacking them right now, right? And and Herbert, we have. Looks like we'd have Herbert right around number 7, number 8.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, in this case, I think we go Rodgers.
Going Rodgers against the Ravens. The Ravens' defense isn't as good as how the Chiefs have been playing as of late. So that chemistry between really all of his wide receivers. I mean. Unfortunately, Zack Attack took the brunt of Valdez-Scantling this past week. And then Allen Lazard scored a touchdown too. So, and obviously Devonta Adams is Devonta Adams. And then he got a touchdown with Aaron Jones out of the backfield. So I think I would lean Rodgers as well.
Yeah, especially Herbert going up against that Chiefs defense that's been looking real nice.
So getting on back to these QB stacks. Next, at number 3, Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals playing the Lions. And this is really why he's number 3, and all these guys were kind of shifted down 1 or 2 because of the matchup. He's going to have a huge rushing game like most people do against the against the Lions. And so, going forward, this is kind of like you want to play all running backs and like really dive right into the Lions defense. Next at number 4 is Jalen Hurts playing the Washington football team after a bye week. He should be good to go. I don't see him being hurt still. And then we got the bad man himself,
He's a bad man.
Discount double check, baby. You don't want to do the championship belt thing, mocking him before a game.
No. Yeah, he's not a man that you want to be making angry. The Bears, I don't know what they were thinking with that. So, yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers. And then next guy, though, we have here kind of dropped. He's been going up and down our list a bit, right? But we're tanking him, even though the Chiefs have been playing very well. It has not been conducive fantasy-wise to those superstars, right? Like Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they've all kind of been taking a step back these past few games because they're emphasizing the run more. So that's why we have Mahomes here at number 6.
And speaking of Mahomes, I'm going to play this soundbite, and this is really how I feel.
Ow! Ow!
Yeah.
Ow!
Yeah.
And this is what I want to do. I want to boo him. Because
it's just like
not been great at all.
Yeah, no.
These past 6-7 weeks when it's mattered. He was great the first 4 or 5 weeks, and then after week 6, just continued.
Mahomes was a great
unless he was playing the Raiders. Yeah, he was. He was probably the sell high candidate because of just what he did and then what he's done. And then next is a guy also who's been struggling a little bit, especially to put up fantasy points, and that's Dak Prescott, the Cowboys. And also, so Dak is at 8, and then we have Herbert in between Mahomes and Prescott. Yeah. And so Prescott is playing the Giants, so that is a favorable matchup for him. He just I don't know what it was. I mean, the defense has propelled them to wins in the past couple weeks. And then the defense that almost blew it last week, it leads to our next guy, and that's a guy who's been super consistent this year. I could see teams getting into the playoffs with Kirk Cousins, this guy, and like other teams not in the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes in one of my leagues. Like I think fantasy drafters, you kind of learned your lesson a little bit this year. If you reached for a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and didn't sit back and wait for someone like, not even Kirk Cousins, but like someone like Stafford
or Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady, even Joe Burrow, like players like that second, third tier, they're, proving to be very valuable. So, yeah, in this though, we're talking about Dak. I just wanted to circle back to Dak. He has been super down recently. Like if you can, and maybe fade him. I know it's hard to say. He had been playing top tier football these first 8-9 weeks, but these past 5-6 games, it's not been QB1 material at all.
I guess you got to talk about this next guy because he's really your boy.
I am the one. I put him up here. And I know you had him down a little bit in our rankings, but Taysom Hill, it's because he can get work on the ground, really no matter what. Even with Alvin Kamara back and getting, close to 30 carries, he's still getting enough action on the ground that where he is in that QB1 conversation 100%. He's going to give you probably around 60, 70 yards on the ground if he gets you a touchdown to boot. I mean, you're looking at 14 points without him even throwing a pass. So, from there, he can easily get you at least 20 points. So that's why I'm so high on Taysom Hill.
And then next is a guy we had to drop because he will play this week, but at what capacity? His rushing, and that's pretty much a lot of his game is going to be down. He's going to have, since he has taken more time to practice out of the pocket and really throw the ball, trusting that the pocket won't collapse as soon as it has in the past. This guy needs to win this game. and that's Action Jackson, Lamar Jackson, new era one of the Baltimore Ravens playing the Packers. And it just temper your expectations because he will play, but he is out there because probably because he wants to be. Next is Matthew Stafford of the LA Rams. What a game last night. He really brought that team back, and not that they were down or whatever, but like, good job, Matt. That's a veteran move right there. Playing the Seahawks, which the Seahawks, their defense is ranked 5th overall.
Well.
Yeah. And next, the
Speaking of them.
quarterback, and that's Russell Wilson. It seems like he will cook a little more, especially if he keeps throwing it to Tyler Lockett, because they win games that way. And they're playing the Rams. So, I mean, Jalen Ramsey should be back, but I don't think that really matters too much. And then next guy, super streamer, we'll get to that in a little while, is Tua Tagovailoa. Playing the Jets.
Tua time.
Tua, baby. And then a couple other ones, Joey B playing the Broncos, temper your expectations. Also Derek Carr, who knows what you'll get out of him. Let's move to, a little people that are in the backfield, and that's the running back. Look who's back, and that's Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts playing the Patriots. I don't care what the defense is. He's number one.
I think we have to respect the man and put him number one, but it would not surprise me if he ended up a bad game for him would be like being in the 8 to 10 range,
points.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, but I could see that, Bill Belichick and his defense, they're always going to focus in on your best weapon, and that is Jonathan Taylor. They're going to try to make Carson Wentz throw the ball. So I can definitely see Jonathan Taylor not having as great of a game as you'd hope.
Next is a guy that was in the kitchen with Russ last week.
This
is Dalvin Cook of the Vikings playing the Bears. And wow, look at that. That's, I think, the first time we've ranked him number 2 this season? Where you drafted him?
Yeah, exactly. Where you draft. Maybe week 1 we put him at number 2, if that. But for real, he even with a shoulder he dislocated and played 11 days later, had a harness on, his legs looked fresh. They're saying it, the announcers are saying it, they're like, it doesn't matter about his shoulder. If his legs are moving like that, he looks like a new back. A lot of these backs are starting to hit that kind of plateau, they're tired. Dalvin Cook just got some good rest, so definitely lean on him moving forward. Your fantasy teams are going to be happy.
Next guy is a guy that went down with injury in the third quarter and then lost me a league as well. Same thing with Damian Harris. So that's Austin Eckler. Brandon Staley did come out and say just because he didn't practice today, he will be fine and he will play on Saturday. So they're playing the Chiefs
tomorrow.
And
playing tomorrow.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
No. Thursday.
All right.
We were both
Jason. Ooh, okay. We're both wrong. All right. We're getting our days confused, Peeps. It's been one of those weeks.
Yes. And then next, speaking of a guy that was not confused last game against the Jets, Alvin Kamara playing the Buccaneers at number 4. And this is the true number 5, Naji Harris playing the Titans. I mean, Naji could be number 1 this week playing that Titans defense because, run the ball through him, play the ball through him, win the game through him, so to speak. The next is a guy that worked pretty high on this week. And that's
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, no Kareem Hunt. Playing the Raiders, who have been torched up and down. They are ranked 31 in total defense. And that's Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely going to be, that bell cow like he usually is. With the Raiders, that defense, the Browns are just going to be trying to control the ball, keep the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hands. I saw just a crazy little stat about Baker Mayfield. Ever since Odell's been traded, he's only thrown 2 touchdowns, 2 wide receivers, and Odell has 3 touchdowns since he's left. So maybe it wasn't Odell after all, huh?
Maybe it was not. Odell also helped me lose a game he put up 19 points and Matt Prater put up 16 points, and that's how I lost.
It's tough. I hate losing against like kickers, defenses. That's the worst.
Next guy is a guy that emerged last year in the playoffs and helped his team get into the Super Bowl, and that's why he's been nicknamed.
Good nickname, Benny.
That's why he's
Playoff Lenny.
Thank you.
Go, baby.
Thank you.
It's a revenge game, like we said, people. So I think Playoff Lenny will be able to. The past 3-4 weeks, he's been a top 5 running back, and I think on the season he's actually number 3. So Playoff Lenny has just been cooking.
Next is a guy that can play multiple positions and may want to play defense next year, and that guy is Cordell Patterson, playing the 49ers. He should get a bunch of opportunity. Wait, did the Falcons win this week?
The Falcons did not. No.
Okay, never mind then. He should have tremendous upside. Cordell has been a waiver wire pickup, great waiver wire pickup this year, and playing the 49ers. And then the next guy, number 9, and he should be playing this week, is the waiver wire pickup of the year, Elijah Mitchell, that came out of nowhere, playing the Falcons and that shoddy defense. Speaking of shoddy defense, the Cardinals running back James Conner is at 10, playing the Lions. Shoddy defense. Let's hope the next guy, Joe Mixon, has a touchdown playing the Broncos. We don't know. Their defense has been pretty good.
Speaking of the Broncos, our guy, Javonte, number 12, playing those pesky Bengals. And, I think after watching last week, Melvin Gordon got 25 touches to Javonte's 16, but Javonte did more with his 16 touches. Like, I think in the end, they got to be at least looking to flip those roles, right? So that's kind of why we have this reflected in our rankings as well, just because the past 2 weeks, Javonte has been a top 10 back.
Next is a guy that I don't like because he's inconsistent like the rest of that offense in Kansas City, and that's CEH playing the Chargers, but the Chargers' run defense has been not great at all this year, so look for him to eat, and they'll probably run the ball through him. Next guy, moving down in our rankings, maybe moved him a little up this week from last week, and that's Saquon Barkley of the Giants. Micah Parsons is a pest in that middle linebacker section of the Cowboys, so temper your expectations, and that's why we have him at 14. Number 15, I'm a little surprised at this guy, Josh Jacobs, playing the Browns.
Josh Jacobs has been he's been playing very well the past few weeks. The Raiders have been trying to emphasize the run. This past week he didn't play well.
Okay,
but
thank you.
Yes. Yeah. No one besides Hunter Renfrow on the Raiders played well against the Chiefs. But before that, Josh Jacobs had been playing well. They're going to try to force feed him the ball as much as they can. Also, with no Kenny and Drake, he's going to be getting the ball out of the backfield. So PPR, he's definitely top 20.
Next is a guy that needed to perform last week, and he did not whatsoever, and that's Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team, playing the Eagles. Next, DeMonte, disappointing year all around, injury and everything, playing the Vikings. Next guy,
I'm surprised to be seeing here, but looks like we have the Packers running back, and that is going to be A.J. Dillon of the Baltimore Ravens. And
where's Aaron Jones?
Yes, I was about to ask you as well, Benny. Where is Aaron Jones? So A.J. Dillon is a solid flex option, I would say in this case. He's been getting almost 15 carries a game, even with Aaron Jones playing. So A.J. Dillon, a solid flex option. Aaron Jones, though, just to circle back, we're looking at him is right around Cordell Patterson range, so 8 to 10.
I can't believe I missed him. I was literally.
He's your boy too. He's your boy.
Yeah. I mean,
he hasn't been your boy recently.
I'm not. But yeah, it's crazy because I was like, oh yeah, I have I was doing the AJ Dillon ranking, and I was like, oh yeah, I have Aaron Jones up there. I don't need to scroll up, and I did. So yeah, and then AJ Dillon at 18, and then guy that you should have on IR, but I see a lot of Yahoo people out there. You didn't. And that's Michael Carter playing the Dolphins, coming back off IR this week. And next, I love this take. Let them know what it is, Byrne.
Yeah, it's Ezekiel Elliott, number 20, going up against the Giants. Like, even if Tony Pollard should be back, but even if he isn't, Zeke has not been the same Zeke Elliott. Pretty much, it really correlates with, Dak's fall off as well. This offense has been broken for these past 5-6 weeks. So I don't really see much changing here. It doesn't help that Zeke's been hurt as well. And the Giants' defense isn't terrible. And I know they just got cooked by I think they're still going to make it hard for Zeke. So I would not rely on Zeke on giving you like RB1 or even high RB2. You're going to treat him as more of a Damian Harris going up against the Colts.
So Zack Attack Bernie had a little trouble, but we still alive. I was just making sure that we were still on here. And let's get Zack Attack in here again. What happened?
I don't know. Did you boot me there, bud?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Oh, I guess I was just talking, and I don't know.
So we got as far as Damian Harris.
Yeah, Damian Harris. I was just saying I like this game going up against the Colts. I think it's going to be a very run-centric game. You have to watch out for Ramondre Stevenson, though. He might be vulturing Damian Harris a bit. So
and as long as Damian Harris's hamstring is all right. I haven't heard anything yet. I don't think he practiced today. But oh wait, no, that's he did. He got in a limited session.
Limited session.
And so he's the guy that should be good for Saturday. But yes, I agree. Careful with Ramondre Stevenson because even though Damian Harris has had some pass catching prowess in the past 3 or 4 weeks, and like not anything crazy, but still, Ramondre Stevenson is good and could be the future of that backfield. Next is he looks like you know those cars that like you buy and then you have to return within 3 months. What do they call those?
Lemons?
Call those a lemon. So there's this type of lemon in the cooking in the restaurant industry and just in food in general. It's called a Meyer lemon. So this is the Meyer lemon effect of James Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You put those two together, you get something broken. And that's exactly what James Robinson has been. He was on Where You Been on the Fantasy Shot Callers podcast. Got to tune in every Tuesday. So he will probably have a good game because he was on Where You Been. But Urban Meyer has done worse.
He is playing against the Texans too, so that should benefit him.
Next is the backup of the backup of the backup, and that's Sony Michel with Darrell Henderson out. He's at 23. He didn't have that great of a game against, honestly, a pretty good Arizona defense. He still had 73 yards on the ground. So they're playing the Seahawks, which they do have a pretty good run D, so temper your expectations there. And then another guy going against the Bengals, and that's Melvin Gordon III. You could have started Devontae and Melvin Gordon last week, and you would have probably won your matchup. And then another guy that used to win matchups for you,
way back
pretty mediocre nowadays, but that's Devonta Freeman of the Baltimore Ravens playing the Packers, and that pretty much wraps up the running backs. New. Person. At the number 1 GOAT spot of the wide receiver rankings of the Fantasy Shot Callers Stacking the Studs, and that award goes to Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. They're playing the Bears. It's going to be delicious cake for you. Next, we've got Cooper Kupp going against the Seahawks.
Coffee.
Let's go. Hey, forget about it.
He's had only 2 performances outside of the top 10 this season, which is just insane. He's having an unbelievable year.
Yeah. And then next is the guy who had the unbelievable year last year, and that's Devonta Adams playing the Ravens. And then number 5, kind of more of a question mark because he strung one week he didn't play, and then last week he's getting back from an injury, so you definitely had to temper your expectations. But that's Deebo Samuel. They're playing the Falcons though, so got to put him at 4. And then number 5 is the new age of Megatron is here. And who is that?
It's Chris Godwin. This man has just been a machine for Tom Brady these past 2 games. Ever since, Antonio Brown's been placed on IR, Godwin has just been getting double-digit targets and has just been feasting. He is that go-to guy for Brady, and that's why our rankings are reflecting it. We have him all. I think this is definitely the highest we've had him so far in the season. And then after that, someone who we've been dropping, ladies and gentlemen, pretty hard. And as we've been talking about, this Kansas City Chiefs offense has just been so hard to trust because they're spreading the ball around so much, and they're also getting the running game involved. So, yeah, we have Tyreek Hill at number 6 going up against the Chargers. Short week as well, so not as much time. Yes, that is how we've been dealing with freaking, a couple more times, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Finally. That's how it's been like. Because, yes. All right, now we're done. Tyreek against Chargers. I think maybe this is a get-right game, or maybe this is a he loses you your season game.
100%. And then next is a guy who's kind of also been disappointing. He's had a couple boom games like Tyreek, and then pretty mediocre for the rest, especially if you drafted him at the end of the first, beginning of the second round, and that's Stephon Diggs of the Bills, playing against the Panthers. Should be able to eat a bit more. The Bills have to win this game, or they're pretty much done. Morale and all that. And then the next is Tampa Bay's other wide receiver, and Mike Evans playing the Saints. He is probably one of the more forgotten fantasy studs every year. Honestly, there was one year, I think it was 2 years ago, where Michael won our Friends League, and he had Mike Evans, and he was like, you definitely didn't forget about him that year. But the past 2 years, he's been really good. But nothing like crazy. But he's been solid. He's like a solid, consistent wide receiver that you need to target next year. And then we got the rookie out of Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, came back to
finally bounced back
wherever he was, and playing the Broncos. Like we've been saying, temper your expectations fantasy-wise against that defense. They just got something. And then this is probably the highest this guy's been this year too, and that's Deontay Johnson of the Steelers. Playing the Titans. The Titans defense is pretty lackluster, and the offense has no tempo. I think they're 1 week away from AJ Brown.
You think Big Ben's going to trust Chase Claypool after that whole debacle last game? So I think Deontay. That was ridiculous.
And next is Bernie's guy. I'm gonna let him.
My man, he's back. He's back from the vid. He made it. Our man Keenan Allen going up against the Chiefs on a Thursday night. They just cleared him today, so he should be good to go. We've typically had him in the top 10, but he is just coming back from COVID, so don't expect the world from him. But still expect from like 10 to 17 points, right in that range.
And then next is a guy who's moved up the rankings just consistently week after week after week. He was Bernie's stud of the week on the podcast, and that is Hunter Renfrow of the Las Vegas Raiders. So if you bet on him to help you win your playoff get-in last week, you did all right at the tune of like 28 points. Great.
Yeah.
Next is a guy who's kind of fallen off as well as of late for fantasy purposes, and that's CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys. Should bounce back this week playing the Giants, but it could be a Amari Cooper show, or it could just be not a show, and the defense scores all the points off interceptions of Mike Glennon. And for next year, Hope that's what Bernie is hoping for an easy loss.
I don't even know what I'm hoping for with the Giants anymore nowadays.
Right.
That's just
Next is a guy that has been up and down, but mainly up this year.
mainly up.
And that's Jalen Waddle, the PPR machine. Like I've said prior, I think in his career he breaks Michael Thomas's reception record playing the Jets, and I mean he could have 400 points this week. So look to start him. And then we hop into the next guy. Who's that, Bernie?
Our guy. It's DeAndre Hopkins against the Lions. And, it's the Lions. So, yeah, it's not going to be much there. I mean, they're not going to. I mean, have the Lions, they won one game, right? So they're not going to get another win this season. So DeAndre Hopkins and then Tyler Lockett. Let's just move on to Tyler Lockett.
Yeah,
because he burned me in a couple of leagues here this past week. He had a boom game, and if people haven't noticed, we haven't mentioned the other Seattle receiver yet because he hasn't been doing nothing because it's been the Tyler Lockett show really this year. I can't believe we're saying that.
And then we have the man that has proved Bernie wrong multiple times this year, and that is T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals.
True.
And they are playing the Broncos. Again, temper your expectations, but he should have close to 100 yards. Amari Cooper is next. He had a good week last week. We'll see if he can
finally got a TD.
That. And I know fantasy managers really need that, especially for where they drafted him. And then Bernie just mentioned him. Who is it?
It's DK. He had a couple games there where he was starting to he's starting to trend up a little bit, but still, past 5 games he hasn't cracked 11 points. So he is definitely somebody, you don't want to bench him in this case, but you definitely have to consider him flex at best, right? Like you can't really start him as a wide receiver 1 through 3 with any confidence. So yeah, we're maybe even being a little nice here putting him here, but
I think we are. And you all know how high I've been on DK Metcalf.
You have been high on him.
Nice for ranking him at 19. So, and then next is a guy I traded for who's been super disappointing ever since, and that's Marquise Hollywood Brown playing the Packers. And then a guy you got what you paid for. I keep telling you got what you paid for. And that's Mike Williams playing the Chiefs and that defense. And then there's a guy who's finally coming into his own after waiting
he's had a
9 weeks.
Roller coaster year.
Roller coaster. Just like my facial expressions. And that is Brandon Ayuk scored the game-winning touchdown against the Bengals in overtime last week on a beautiful, beautiful touchdown run. Yep. And then we got a guy who's kind of dipped off a little bit and then had a bye week. And that's Michael Pittman Jr. playing the Patriots. And, granted, they'll be focused a lot on Jonathan Taylor, but they'll also be, taking Michael Pittman out of the game too. DJ Moore, little uncertain with his injury. We'll see if he comes back this week. He should be back, but you never know, especially with the reporters and medical staff. It's like they all are still hungover from their 400-day binge of the COVID variety. So they don't know how to report anything anymore. They don't know how to put anyone on IR anymore. So watch, DJ Moore will be out for 2 weeks and then be put on IR.
I believe that. Them.
Yeah. Next is a guy who was drafted super late, kind of on a flyer, was supposed to be the wide receiver 2. He is now the wide receiver 1 of the Chicago Bears. And you guessed it. That's the Moon Man himself, Darnell Mooney. He's fallen off a little bit the past 2 games, but I think he gets it right.
Justin Fields kind of hurts him a little bit, is what I've noticed, So Mooney is another guy who you really can only trust as a flex, but if he booms, he can give you a solid 20 points.
Next is Devonta Smith coming off a bye playing against the Washington football team. And then we just got some people, Van Jefferson. KJ Osborne is the future of that wide receiver core in what's it called?
In Minnesota?
Yeah, in
you don't think
Minnesota.
Justin Jefferson?
No. Like it's gonna be him. It's gonna be Justin Jefferson.
Those
and
two.
KJ Osborne. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because we've only heard a little bit
Thiel's-
about him this year.
Well, yeah, and Thielen's
and he
like
was
34.
targeted a lot. Yeah,
Too, I think.
and so like he's older, and that's why he was a steal as well because he's caught those touchdowns all year. And then Devontae Parker, Christian Kirk, Russell Gage, and then we don't rank anyone from 31 till about 37, and then at 38 we have
Robbie Anderson.
Let's give him let's see, what should I give him? Oh.
Toilet flush?
Moving on to tight ends, Travis Kelce. Hold on.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
I love that soundbite.
I do too.
And then I'm going to give him one of these.
Yeah.
I looked at the stats. They're not as bad, but they're bad.
Okay. For the past 3 weeks,
games,
4 weeks.
Yeah. Well, past 2 games after the bye, literally the same amount of points, 5.7. Full PPR. Even Rue hates it.
Yeah, Rue agrees. The pup agrees.
Yeah. And so that's why George Kittle, the PPR machine that helps win games for the 49ers, like literally the 49ers, the Bengals, all the fans, the announcers, everyone knew that they were going to George Kittle on this third down play for about 8 yards. Everyone knew it. And they still completed the pass in double coverage. So George Kittle is number 1 this week against the Falcons. Number 2 is Mark Andrews against the Packers. 4 is Gronk against the Saints. And then we have Kelce. Or no, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3. Kelce at 4.
Kelce at 4.
The Chargers. Yep. Yeah. And then 5 is Dawson Knox against the Panthers.
Knox is knocking on the door.
Knocking on heaven's door without Travis Kelce. This is where it kind of jumbles up a little bit.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz, hit or miss week to week, playing against the Giants. TJ Hawkinson playing against the Cardinals. And then Mike Gesicki, another. It seems like Tua is a PPR machine. Like he just throws easy receptions to these guys because he doesn't have the long ball ready yet for some reason. And if it's smart football, it's smart football, and they are on a pretty nice win streak right now. And then next is a guy who has a lot of question marks around him, whether
Mr. French cheese.
Yeah, Mr. Gourmet French cheese, and that's Dallas Goedert, aka Dallas Goedert, aka French cheese of the Bernie variety. So Dallas Goedert playing Washington. We don't know if last game was a fluke or the Gardner Minshew effect. Who knows? But
hashtag free Gardner Minshew, right?
I guess so.
Dang. Pick him up, New York Giants. Come on now.
What are you doing? Number 10, rounding out the top 10, and that's Kyle Pitts playing against the 49ers. And then the next guy, he dropped, and it's if he plays too. Who is it?
It's my guy who I drafted, who I really, really, really reached for in a bunch of drafts. Darren Waller going up against the Browns. I think he will be playing, but just he's a guy who you can't necessarily expect the world from.
And rounding out the last two, 12 and 13, Zach Ertz playing against the Lions, and then Patty Freiermuth playing against the Titans.
Patty mayonnaise.
Welcome, Mark. Should I drop Damian Harris for Rashad Penny?
You can drop someone else.
Yeah. Who else you got to drop? You got to have someone to drop. Not Damian Harris.
Like backup quarterback, backup tight end.
Yeah. You don't need 2 quarterbacks, especially if you got someone solid. I mean, if you're streaming someone, that's one thing. But I mean, if you're in the playoffs right now, you should be solid. There should be another bench player you can drop, unless it's like a 6-man league. then go ahead. But not really. Keep Damian Harris. Rashad Penny is too dangerous week to week. You don't know what you're going to get until you actually get it multiple weeks in a row. So Damian Harris is a safe choice right now, and you got to stick with him. Keep these comments piling in. We're hitting that waiver wire to get you right for the first round of the playoffs. Unless you have a bye, congratulations. You should have a bye if you've been listening to the Fantasy Shot Callers all year long. So Bernie, I usually start it off. You want to start off with your quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I highlighted him earlier, in our stack with our QBs, and that's Taysom Hill. He's owned in 51% of leagues, and as I was talking about earlier, his baseline with his rushing stats can give you a solid 15, 20 points, no questions asked. So he's only owned, again, 51% of leagues. You should pick him up if you are quarterback needy, even if you're someone who owns someone like, Russell Wilson, a Kirk Cousins. You do have to start looking at, planning for, week 16, week 17 as well. So if you have that flexibility in your roster. So he's definitely my number one QB ad. And then Tua is, we were talking about the PPR machine for his receivers. He's my number two. So let's see. What's Mark saying?
This is his bench. And he has Julio, Sony Michel, A.J. Dillon, Osborne, Mooney, Aaron Rodgers, Hurts late rounds. Got Hurts late rounds. Worries me about injuries. Who should I drop?
That's it?
On
Who's
his bench.
your other?
That's who he has on his bench.
On his bench.
Yeah.
I mean,
bold. I'd go Julio.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I feel like, is Julio really because you have to ask yourself, can I start Julio Jones with confidence? I feel like you haven't been able to start that man with confidence all year. So how's it going to be any different now? And if you're not going to start him, then why is he on your team? Especially if you have someone like Penny 100%. Who you could flex.
And I mean, let's see.
I mean, I like Osborne's upside. Mooney has some, Mooney would be the next one I probably would cut.
Yeah. I would hang on to Osborne as long as Thielen is out. His target share is too big with Thielen being out. And obviously we all know A.J. Dillon, Sony Michel. Definitely not Aaron Rodgers. You should be starting Aaron Rodgers. He should not be on your bench. And
no, I would say maybe, say you make it through this week, you win. You could let go one of your handcuffs, I think, going into the next week. And then going into your championship game, you can get rid of all your handcuffs because there's no point in handcuffing anymore.
Yeah. And the handcuff I would obviously get rid of is Sony Michel over A.J. Dillon. So
I would look at both the health of those running backs for, just go from there.
So there's Henderson on the IR, so I'm going to have to cut an additional person.
Yeah, so I think you're looking at Julio and then probably Mooney.
Yeah. So going forward, my QBs, I agree with the Tua take, 34% owned in Yahoo leagues, and then Jimmy G playing the Falcons, 30% in Yahoo leagues.
I like that take.
And I just think that the Falcons defense is that bad, and Jimmy G has been eating with George Kittle lately, and
yeah, he's been low-key eating. He's kind of on that Kirk Cousins flow, in the beginning of the season. He's actually doing pretty well, and not a lot of people are talking about him. So, yeah, I love that take.
Moving on to running back, obviously, Rashad Penny, 23% owned in Yahoo leagues. They win the ball. Well, they won the game. Not win the ball. They won the game last week, running the ball and then throwing it. Rashad Penny had such a great week, 23% on Yahoo leagues. Go pick him up. And this guy, he's not owning 50% or less, but I'm surprised people dropped him as much as they did. And that's Michael Carter of the New York Jets. He's only owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues.
Maybe we lost Penny now?
Hello?
Oh, I think he's back. Oh, he is back, ladies and gentlemen. See, this is what happens in going live, people.
I guess so.
Technology doesn't always work for you.
It doesn't always work. Mark, as another last question, boys, then I'm going to head out. Start two. Mooney, Osborne, Pittman, Ayuk.
Ayuk's your definite number one.
And then I'm going Osborne.
It's between Pittman and Osborne.
I'm going.
I think I'll go
Pittman is not
Osborne as
good
well because I
yeah.
think the Colts are going to run the ball more.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, dude. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do that. And you know, fantasy is life. _fantasy shot callers on TikTok for anyone on TikTok, and then fantasy _shot callers on Instagram. Hit us up all the time. You know what it is. Smokey the Cat, welcome back. Is Brown worth a roster spot? My playoffs begin week 16.
Yes. I think so then.
Who are we talking about?
Antonio.
Oh, Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been getting dropped a lot. He's actually available in one of my leagues. I was wondering if I should pick him up.
Playoffs begin week 16. Yeah, I mean, pick him up. You unfortunately can't put him on an IR spot or anything.
That's the worst part.
But yeah, if you have room, definitely go and grab him.
Yep.
So what I was saying, Michael Carter, he's only owned in 63% of Yahoo leagues. And I would look to grab him. Also, if anyone dropped Ramondre Stevenson because of the bye week, go and grab him too. You got any other running backs, Bernie?
You stole my guys. I had Stevenson and Penny were my must adds. But yeah, I was also just going to take a moment to kind of talk about what I was talking about before with the whole handcuffs and just, we are at that time where those handcuffs aren't as valuable now. They're depleting in value week by week. So, maybe even at this point, you can cut someone who, it's a risk, but you got to start taking some risks.
Moving on to wide receiver, the number one is KJ Osborne, 38% owned in Yahoo leagues. Number two for me is going to be Marquez Valdez-Scantling, owned in 50% of Yahoo leagues. With Aaron Rodgers cooking, he could score a touchdown, and he is that biggest deep threat with the biggest boom potential. Outside of obviously, it's just the ceiling with Devonta Adams. But yeah, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And then lastly, he had a pretty good game last week. Who knows if it was because of Tyler Huntley or not. And that's Rashad Bateman. First game over 100 yards, 38% owned in Yahoo leagues. What you got, Vern?
Yeah, I cheated a little bit. Russell Gage is still only owned in 52% of leagues. Makes no sense to me. He should be owned 75, 80% of leagues. So Russell Gage, go get him if he's available. Devontae Parker, 46% owned. Another guy you should go get. And then I have Osborne and Bateman are my next two up. MVS, it's hard. It's hard to trust any other Packers receiver besides Devonta Adams, right? You never know if it's going to be a Lazard game or an MVS game. So it's tough to go with those two.
Tight end, I don't have anything for you.
I got two. I got Tyler Conklin, still 47% owned. Yeah. He's definitely that number 3 option in that Vikings passing attack. And then Ricky Seals-Jones, 16% owned. He didn't have a good game this past week, but Logan Thomas is out for the rest of the year, so he's definitely an option for you.
And then kicker. So I just want to give a little advice. Kicker for, going into the playoffs, you could roster 2, depending on matchup. As long, same with defense, but
I would roster 2 defenses before 2 kickers.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But obviously Nick Folk, if someone dropped him for bye week, right? And then also there's just options against defenses that stop opposing offenses in the red zone or when they're in their territory, right? Or offenses that have a bad percentage in the red zone. So looking into that, those are the people you want to stream for kicker, and because they will get you the most points, especially if a lot of teams can get to about the 35-yard line and they kick a bunch of 50-yard field goals. That's what you want. You don't want all these touchdown kings to be playing with. Sure. Do you have a streaming kicker for this week?
I do. Mine's Evan McPherson for the Bengals, 26% owned against the Broncos. I think it's going to be a good game for him because I think it's going to be hard for the Bengals to get touchdowns consistently. I think they're going to be able to move the ball, but I don't think they're going to be able to capitalize always in the red zone.
I agree. And then defenses, I have a couple. First is the obvious streamer, the Miami defense against the Jets, and then Cleveland. If the Patriots were dropped for whatever ungodly reason, go scoop them. And in the testaments of the fantasy shot callers, in years to come, we will be writing that you should not waste a waiver wire pickup on a defense or a kicker. But this week, if the Patriots are there, you waste the waiver wire. You definitely waste the waiver wire. And then also,
100%.
you may want to not start them this week, but you may want to waste the waiver wire on the Chiefs too.
Chiefs. Yeah, the defense been awesome.
Yeah.
Helped me out majorly last week.
Yeah. 24 points. They had as many fumble recoveries as sacks last week.
Wow. That is a stat right there. Forget about it. So for defense, I actually got two different defenses. I have the Browns defense going up against Las Vegas, owned in 40% of leagues. And then I also have the Vikings defense going up against the Bears, owned in 39% of leagues. So those are two defenses, probably top 10 for this upcoming week, who you should be able to pick up on the waiver wire if need be.
100%. And that brings us to the end of Stacking the Studs here on the Fantasy Football Network. Want to thank the Fantasy Football Network for letting us do what we do and stack them studs and propel you to fantasy greatness. As always, speaking of greatness, my co-host Zack Attack Bernie in the house. I'm Ben Gunna Benny Buckets. We in this house. Fantasy is life. It could be death, but it's a vibe either way. See you next week, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look at that. I did the